Hey guys, it's me Simo Urahara, and in this video I want to talk about a character whose past surprised me more than his present, Chojiro Sasakibe. Why did this character, who did great things in the past, end up just like a servant to the old man Yamamoto in the present? Did he want this fate, or did Kubo not handle him properly? We will discuss all of these guys in this video. And as I mentioned, Sasakibe is one of the characters Kubo handled strangely. The more I think about him, the more I feel the need to talk about him again, especially with the new information Kubo provided in the first core, which was quite shocking to me. But before we start diving into Sasakibe's character, guys, I want to talk about something that caught my attention on my last video. In the comments of that video, a fan mentioned something interesting about one of the similarities between the Zanpakuto arc and Thousand Year Blood War arc. And really there are many similarities. For example, the Shinigami who had Bankai couldn't use it because their Zanpakuto rebelled against them and sided with Muramasa. And this is similar to what happened in the Quincy arc, where Shinigami couldn't use their Bankai because of the medallion. And if we go back to episode 230, you will see many similarities. For example, in the Quincy arc, the first captains to have their Bankai stolen were Komamura, Soifon, Toshiro, and Byakuya. In the episode 230, Komamura was the first to release Bankai and exposed to a sudden attack by his own Bankai. Then Toshiro couldn't activate his Shikai, and the same happened with Soifon. So these three were the first to have their Bankai stolen at the beginning of the Quincy arc. And there is also another strange similarity, is that Sasakibe was the first victim in both the Zanpakuto arc and the Quincy arc. Not only that, it could be said that the beginning of the Zanpakuto attack on the Shinigami was almost the same thing. In the Zanpakuto arc, the attack began with Katin Kyokatsu, Kitaki's Zanpakuto in Minazuki, heading towards the first division. The old man was alone in his quarters enjoying the sunset until he heard people approaching. And unlike the Wanderer who stormed the building from below, the Zanpakuto entered through the door. Sasakibe in the Quincy arc was with the gate guards of the first division when he released his Bankai and clashed with Driscoll or maybe other generator. But in the Zanpakuto arc, Sasakibe appeared with the old man, hiding himself to see the upcoming people. And this was the last scene of Sasakibe, as he later appeared in the Shinigami meeting on the hill, being the first to fall at the beginning of the battle between the Shinigami and the Zanpakuto. So as you can see, guys, there are many similarities between these two arcs, especially at the beginning. It's so similar that I began to wonder if these events of that arc are canon. Because in Byakuya's fight with Ace Note, Ace Note says how battles helped Byakuya overcome many of his fears. And at that moment, the studio started to show up some short flashbacks of Byakuya. And among these flashbacks, a scene appeared of Byakuya fighting Koga, and I checked the Blu-ray episode and the scene was there too. So are the events of that arc canon, or is it a mistake by the studio? I'm talking about the events, not the design of the Zanpakuto characters, many of which are canon, including the appearance of Sasakibe's Zanpakuto's ability. In his fight against Soifon, his ability to control the weather like Yurimaru was shown in that arc. That's why I really hope Kubo can give us a clear answer about that arc. And now guys, let's get back to our main topic, Sasakibe. To start talking about him, I will divide the topic into three parts. Sasakibe as we knew him before the Quincy arc, Sasakibe after the Quincy arc began, and Sasakibe with the new information that we have seen in the first core. So first of all, guys, did you know that Kubo never intended for Sasakibe to become a captain? Kubo said that Sasakibe didn't have the qualities to be a captain. When asked if Sasakibe could become a captain someday, Kubo answered, "I don't think so, as long as Yamamoto is around." And Kubo added that when he created Sasakibe, he didn't see any qualities in him to be a captain. Kubo said that same thing about Kira and Hisagi, although he mentioned that it would be interesting if they became captains, and he was speaking about Kira and Hisagi. But for Sasakibe, it wasn't possible, and even transferring to another division was not possible for Sasakibe. And these things, like not being to be able to move to another division, are known due to the nature of the relationship between him and Yamamoto and how he dedicated his entire life to serving Yamamoto. Maybe some people saw Sasakibe as the second strongest since he was the vice captain of the strongest Shinigami in the history of the Gote 13. However, Kobo portrayed Sasakibe differently in the Society arc. Sasakibe didn't show any significant strength or fighting skills. In fact, we all remember how he, along with the weaker vice captains like Isani and Omaida, was easily defeated by Ichigo, who had just learned the basics of Shikai. So it seems that Sasakibe's role was not in battles but to be by Yamamoto's side when needed. Yamamoto didn't need Sasakibe for major issues as long as he was strong and handled things himself, like when the vice captains couldn't defeat Ion. At the time, Sasakibe was outside the fake Karakura town, exactly around the barriers, monitoring any external interventions, so he was the one who allowed the visor to enter, and these factors kept Sasakibe out of the battles at the battles of the Arankar arc. And in the Quincy arc or Thousand Year Blood War arc, Kubo decided to reveal Sasakibe's background. It turned out that Sasakibe had Bankai 2000 years ago. I don't know if this was a good move by Kubo or bad one, because he made Sasakibe seem weak showing his strength, and suddenly we learned he had Bankai all along, and this makes us want to see his strength, his true power. So Sasakibe's life and actions were all for Yamamoto. He chose to stay under Yamamoto's command, rather than take a captain position or be responsible for a division. Sasakibe didn't want to gain power for himself but wanted to serve Yamamoto. 1000 years ago, he raised his Bankai and honed it to gain Yamamoto's approval, which he did. And most Shinigami wanted to fight many battles and become strong and obtain Bankai for themselves. But Sasakibe wasn't like that. But as I said, what I really didn't like is Sasakibe's scene with Ichigo. A person with thousands of years of experience couldn't avoid the attack of a 15 years old Shinigami. It's hard to accept, but other than that, I can understand what Sasakibe wanted and why he didn't engage in battles. And this leads us guys to the third part, related to the additions in the anime. Sasakibe's participation in defeating Yhwach was shocking for me, because I couldn't imagine that this guy was one of the real reasons of Yhwach's defeat. So he stabbed Yhwach from behind, and then Yamamoto launched the final attack, ending the fight. The other captains also had a bigger role in defeating Yhwach's followers and surrounding him. Sasakibe was hiding under the corpses and came out, then launched the final stab to Yhwach. And this action by Sasakibe might explain many things. The original Gote 13 didn't fight with honor and pride. Their only concern was to finish off the opponent. And Sasakibe's role in the first 1000 years might have been different. He might have had a fighting spirit, especially in the battles where Yamamoto was a major part. And after the first war ended, most Shinigami, including Sasakibe and Yamamoto, enjoyed the peace by defeating the Quincy's. And so Sasakibe preferred to serve Yamamoto and stay away from the battles that might distance between him and Yamamoto. But at the same time, Sasakibe's path had consequences. Sticking by Yamamoto's side without engaging in battles deprived him of effectiveness when he needed to fight. And what is worse, according to Kubo, Yhwach's orders were to get rid of Sasakibe because he was one of the reasons that led to Yhwach's defeat. So all the bad circumstances came together for Sasakibe on that day. He didn't engage in battles, had his Bankai stolen, and was killed by Driscoll. In the end, guys, if Sasakibe had become a captain, he might have reunited with Yamamoto in the Hell and stayed with him even after death. The Council Eisai was held only for 3 captains, while Sasakibe's Ryatsu probably turned into Rishi and returned to the Soul Society soil, especially since he was given a formal funeral. So guys, what do you think about this character, about the new information that Kobo gave us? What do you think about that? Give me your opinions in the comments and see you guys in my next video.